Ryan here, and I have before you a YHM Titanium Phantom sound suppressor slash silencer, moderator, firearm muffler. It goes by a bunch of different names, but essentially what it does is it serves as a muffler for the end of the barrel on a firearm and makes it quieter. In the United States, where I live, it is illegal to own in many localities, but by and far, in most places in America, you can own it. It just takes getting the right paperwork, and once you have that, you're pretty much set. And the right paperwork takes anywhere from 4 months to a year, depending on how on the ball and how quickly you are able to get it. YHM is a longtime maker of suppressors, and they have several different models. This happens to be a titanium one, so the weight on it is about 15 ounces. Really good weight. And then I have a few muzzle devices here, and you'd use the muzzle device to attach the sound suppressor to. These threads right here are Acme threads, and sorry for a little fuzz on there, but essentially you screw it on there. There's these little divots that engage with the end of the suppressor with these little notches here, and 4 will engage at any one time. There's one spaced at each of the 4 corners there. It's round, and then that whole assembly is spring loaded. There's a spring back here, and it's a very tough spring. I can get it to move a little bit there, but essentially it holds tension against those little teeth and against those little notches, and it keeps it from backing off, which is really important. If it backs off, bad things can happen. So this is a 5.56 muzzle brake, threaded to 1/2 by 28, and I also have a 30 caliber flash suppressor, threaded to 5/8 by 24, I believe is the thread pitch on there. We have a 5.56. It's a newer design. It doesn't have those ridges that you see on the original, and this is meant for a 9mm originally, but there's a little ridge there that, as you can see, I took the ridge off and there's another video that you can see how I did that, but it's a real close-up view so you can tell exactly what I did. And I've taken this one apart so you can see it's really fairly simple apart from the locking mechanism. So there you go, and what I'll do now is I'll replace the can. Okay, so a little better position on here, and what I'm going to do is look down inside of the can, and you can see that the shiny area, the real shiny kind of a giant thick washer there, that is to align the can with, by can I mean suppressor, with the front area here on the muzzle brake device in this case. And what that does is it keeps the silencer from wobbling side to side. They're pretty sturdy as it is, but that just does help. And as you can see behind that, that's the first baffle with all the holes in it there, and of course the big hole down the center, and then the entire baffle stack goes down. And you should be able to see several baffles there. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there. And what happens is I'll use the big muzzle device. You put the suppressor in there, you tighten it down. There we go. And once you get to that point, you can see the teeth are starting to engage there. And if it will focus, it'll be a little better there. There you go. So the teeth are starting to engage, and then they just snap over there. If you had it on a rifle, you could do it by hand, but I'm going to simulate the rifle being in one place by holding the suppressor with my wrench here. You can hear every one of those little clicks there. And then it won't go any further. I'm not going to tighten it, over torque it. But as you can see, everything is fairly solid. If it were on a rifle, I don't have a camera set up to where I could do that. If it were on a rifle, it would actually be fairly sturdy, and you can see I've had it installed on rifles before. So the spring is under a lot more tension now. You can compare it to how it looked before. If my camera would focus, there we go. The spring is actually pressed down, and there's a good amount of spring pressure holding those notches down inside, or down those little nubs down inside those notches. And for some reason my camera just does not like to focus. So essentially you can't tighten it any tighter than that. I mean, it just kind of stops. So I will endeavor to take it off here, and that's essentially what you have. Now some might ask how tight it is when you do that. So I've done a few calculations, and let me go over those with you now. So here's my calculations. Essentially what you have is every turn ends up being 35 thousandths of an inch, 35 10,000ths, I'm sorry, 3.5 thousandths, 0.35 hundredths, and 0.035 tenths, and 0.0035 thousandths. Essentially, that's since each of these is essentially 10 degrees on a wheel. There's 365 degrees, I'm sorry, 360 degrees. So each turn is 10 degrees. 10 degrees is roughly 35 ten thousandths, or 3.5 thousandths. So each time you move the suppressor one click, each of those clicks you heard, it was 3.5 thousandths of additional movement, and eventually it gets tight. The muzzle I'd like to show you. There you go. The well, maybe. Okay, that's the muzzle. Very thick at the end there. I'm assuming it's welded right along in there somewhere. Actually, you could probably see the weld seam right there. It's a lot easier to see the weld seam back here. And I have seen some of these cans that have been taken apart, and that's just a tube welded on at both ends with the end caps and the baffle stack in the middle. Feels really light. I like it. I'm going to keep it, and I'll have some more videos coming up in the future showing you me shooting those. One important note that I wanted to make is that when you're installing these what do you call them? When you're installing the mounts on the rifles, do not use a crush washer. That is the wrong. That's the wrong way to mount them. You want to use shims, and they sell them in shim kits. You never want to use a crush washer, because a crush washer, basically, it's not going to keep the brake from wobbling side to side, and you don't want that because you can have a baffle strike with a bullet going through. So always mount them with shims, or in the case of this is a brake, it's timed, it has a closed off space at the bottom there. However, on the flash suppressors, you don't need anything. Maybe a washer if you so desire, but it's preferable just to mount it to the muzzle like it is, and torque it down, and you're good to go. So that's about it. There's not a whole lot to it. It's a sound suppressor. It is rated up to 300 Winchester Magnum, and you can shoot these down to 11 inches. I think that's what the rating is. You want to check with YHM on that. For caliber 308, I would not shoot that short a barrel with 300 Winchester Magnum, whether or not you've got a suppressor on there. You don't want to go any shorter than that, because these baffles really are not designed to handle all that unburnt powder basically spraying out there like a sandblaster on the inside. And you're going to get some erosion on the inside of the can. This can is sealed. You cannot take it apart. You can send it back to the factory, and what they'll do is they'll break the welds and repair whatever they have to, and then re-weld it if it needs repair ever. Most cans, most suppressors in this class end up being much heavier, and in fact YHM's steel and stainless steel cans can run up to 2 pounds for, I think, 28 ounces for their 30 caliber can, but up to 2 pounds for their .338 rated cans. So be careful when you buy. I bought the titanium because it's lightweight, and you don't want the rifle to end up being a behemoth that you can't use it for anything without a bipod or something like that. You want to be able to actually shoot with this thing. And of course you wouldn't be able to if the end of the rifle weighed 150 pounds. So this is Ryan Ham, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like. If you want to see more like it, please subscribe. If you found it interesting and want to reference it, please favorite. If you think your friends might enjoy it, please share. And finally, if you have any questions, please comment down in the section. Again, this is Ryan Ham. Goodbye.